It's there.
Welcome to Meat Pies and Shots Part 2. I'm Dan Tomlinson.
I'm Johnny Compton.
Right, we'll dive straight into our favourite topic then, Hull Kingston Rovers.
Or the Dead Dobbins, whatever you want to call them.
I'd rather go with the latter personally.
We're laughing, aren't we? We really are laughing. Laughing is the right word. This meltdown.
Yeah,
Meltdown
it's brilliant, isn't it? If you lucky enough to pick up a copy of the Hull FC fanzine, these are both the editions for the
Is that up the cream, Dan?
match. It is. Nice little plug for myself, but I took great delight in taking the mick out of Rovers. I do every issue, but there was one, the Danny Maguire thing. He gets sin binned in the Wakefield game. And they go mental. It's actually crazy how crazy you can go after one little incident. And some of the actual comments that came out were absolute gold. Tell him to F off. He's past it now and this is boring. Can he retire yet? 2 sin bins is unacceptable. Needs to be dropped. Sin bin for the same thing last week. Enough is enough. He needs to calm down and listen to the guffy spouts in the local paper. And then he scores the winning try. It's brilliant, isn't it? This is why, hot-headed opinions, and I've been guilty for this in the past. We're all human beings. As fans, we wear our heart on our sleeves, don't we? But when you're thinking it from an opposition club and your biggest rival, it's hilarious, isn't it? It's
Did you see the Junior Vavai stuff on Instagram? That was, I think he actually went out there and posted about the fans having a go at him and how they need to stick by them and that they're all bagging them and having a go and it will turn around. And when your own players are having to come out, it tells you everything. They had the awful incident with the bottle throwing stuff.
Oh yeah, Cass,
at their own player.
Yeah, Robbie Mullane, what's he thinking?
There's some. I mean, we talk about Huddersfield about there being something wrong there. There's not positive noises coming out of OKR at the moment.
They're just a gutter club out there. They always have been, they always will be. And this is not just me talking as an FC fan. They've always been like that. The problem is, right, they've got a chairman and owner, and Neil Hudgell, and all he cares about is getting one over Hull FC. That's all that matters. Rovers could win the derbies. There's 3 this year. They could win all 3 derbies, finish 15 points, 6 places lower than Hull, and he won't care because he's beaten us 3 times. It's all that matters. It's small club syndrome. That's what it is.
I still want to beat him, though.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I couldn't care less. So, as long as we finish, where we want to be in the top 5. If someone gave me that now and said, "Oh, we'll be a top 4 club," you might lose. You'll lose more derbies than you win. I'll bite your hand off because I'd rather finish in the top 4. The problem with them, that they've always had that small time mentality. It'll never go. It's always been the case, and it'll always be the case.
I think where the problems lie is they've had to overspend on certain names to bring them in, and their salary cap is probably really top heavy. By all accounts, Josh Drinkwater's coming on quite a large contract, and the fans are well aware of that, and so there's undue pressure on it. And he's not the sort of half they really needed. They already had an organising half back with Maguire, and they brought another one in there. Really, the best half probably is Chris Atkin.
Yeah,
and he can't get a game. It sort of beggars belief a little bit.
And then another one, you're talking about, fans treating the players wrong, but look what Tim Sheens is doing with Chris Atkin. I completely echo that. I'm always saying about Chris Atkin. When we play Rovers, he's the player you look out for. He's their most dangerous, attacking, influential player. And there's been times this year, I think it was against London, where he came on off the bench and got 5 minutes at the end. Why are they doing that? There's something clearly not right there. Tim Sheens, for me, he's just... What, does he even know what his best team is? He's trimmed his squad down. He's gone for allegedly quality over quantity.
There's some good players. They do have some good players. I'll ask you a question now, then. I've got a view on this, but do you think Tim Sheens will be there by the end of the year?
No.
Neither do I.
No, I don't. I generally think he'll be the first Super League casualty this year.
I don't know if he'll be the first Super League casualty. I think Adrian Lamb is probably walking a bit of a tightrope at the moment.
Well, I can't wait to get on to that later.
But I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he may turn around and says, well, look, because he has achieved an awful lot in the game. He's been Australia coach, he's won NRL Grand Finals. is he going to turn around and say, well, this isn't really for me, this? If those fans are turning on their team and their players already at this stage.
I mean, does he need that? He's about 84, isn't he?
They've not... 104. They've not helped themselves, though, have they? Let's be realistic. And realistic is the apt word, because I don't think they particularly were at the start of the year. And people can harp on at me and say, well, FC are a top 4 club. Well, we've won 2 Challenge Cups in the last couple of years and consistently made the top 4, yeah. I'd argue that history points towards us being a successful club. Rovers' recent history does not point towards them being a successful club. It points towards them being a yo-yo team that have been relegated a couple of times, who have then struggled to establish themselves in the league.
When's the last time they had a decent season? You're going back to 2010 where they finished 6th.
And what you'll say then as well is they had much more of a smattering of young local players, and they're back to the youth at that point. They're younger players at the moment, even though when they're struggling with injuries, they're not getting a game. No. They're not being backed. And I think this is part of the problem, is that they're tending to play players who aren't quite fit, who are they're patching them up, and they're getting. We had it at Hull FC last year, but it was more a needs must, and the fact that there was nobody else to come in.
Yeah.
But a half fit player or a 70% fit player is not going to deliver everything what you want him to do, and you're not going to win competitions. You're not going to pick up the points more often than not. I think this is the problem they've got. I don't see him getting relegated, but then I don't see him even troubling the playoffs either. I think they're like a poor man's Catalans. They'll win games that you don't necessarily expect them to win, and then they'll lose games that you expect them to win. But I think they'll lose more than they'll win.
The 3 games they've won this year, a bounce of the ball against Hull, again against Wakefield, a bounce of the ball, and then they managed to scrape past London. So
one of my friends is actually a Dobbins fan, and he goes home and away. And he did say to me, he said, if the weather had been different against Wakefield, they'd have hammered him. He said that the conditions really helped Rovers, and it levelled the game, and it gave them a foothold in it. If it had been a dry track, he felt they would have got beat by 30 points.
I think any genuine self-respecting rugby fan would say the same. Moving on. Leeds. # Leeds in crisis.
This is a common theme, this.
This is brilliant, isn't it?
Comedy gold.
Wow. Well, I had them to finish 6th. Johnny went as low as 9th. I think we're both being a bit optimistic there. No, it's brilliant, isn't it? They've lost 6 out of their opening 7 games. It's brilliant. They just look... There's nothing about them, is there? They've signed players in the wrong positions. The NRL imports, Trent Merrin, Tui Lolohea, Conrad Hurrell, absolutely useless, all 3 of them.
I think it's a bit harsh on Hurrell. I think he's
he's
working hard, if nothing.
Hurrell is a big lump of a forward that will make him meters because he's about 3 stone heavier than anyone he's running at. He can't catch, he's useless, he can't pass. He's hopeless. He's not a good rugby league player. He's just a big lump of a thing.
He's a bit of a throwback. No, he's definitely a bit of a throwback. But what I would say with that is he's got the effort and he's got the heart, and he wants to. He's one of the few players when I've watched Leeds and I've looked at, and he looks interested and he wants to do something.
Oh, I'm not disputing that. Obviously, his attitude's great. I'm sure he's a nice bloke and all that, but he's just not a very good rugby player.
No, I sort of disagree. I don't mind Conrad. I don't think that's where their problems lie. The problems lie in their halfbacks. I mean, you look at it. I saw something on Twitter last week where their fans were actually hoping that Richie Myler got an ACL. That's awful. It's really bad. But it's true. They've got their own fans saying, "Oh, we can hope he gets an ACL, can't we?" And then it's like, "Oh my god,
that's outrageous."
They've got Lolohea. Now, Lolahea's best game for Leeds was they played him fullback, didn't they?
Yeah.
And he looked dangerous there. Now, then they came up and they played Hull FC the week after, and he went back to 6. And I was really happy. Really happy he went back to. He's never a 6.
It was awful.
I've got more chance of playing 6 than he has.
It was a 9 back in the day, like 15 years ago, wasn't it? But yeah, the Leeds, they're not having a good time at the moment either. They just look really. Well, pause and understatement. They've been absolutely.
Does Ferner know his best team? Has he inherited a team that he didn't want? And I think that's probably
who made those signings last year. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean,
well, it's Gary Everton, and he probably still makes the signings now. Do we really think it's David Ferner making the signings?
No, of course not. They've got the salary cap all wrong, haven't they? And what they've paid these blokes. And
Trent Merrin is a marquee player. Now, Trent Merrin was a very good player in the NRL and did a good job.
I disagree there as well.
Well, no, over the course of his career,
Trent Merrin was very
good.
poor. Last year at the Panthers, he was really poor.
Yeah, and if he wasn't, then he'd have still been in the NRL kicking around, and he's still actively looking, or if you listen to everything out there, he's actively looking to orchestrate and go back to the NRL. He doesn't really want to be here, and that's the risk sometimes with the overseas players, is they're here for the wrong reason. We had one at LFT in Mai Fanoa who openly admitted that he came across to the Super League because he couldn't get a gig in the NRL at that point. And we were lucky that he came here, and his character is such that he put it in, week out, and he worked hard, and he wanted to show people that he could still cut in the NRL, and he did that. We got 2 good years out of him, and he went back. I still think we were sort of used as a club and as a competition, but that's where we're at as a competition. Your very premier players are playing in the NRL, and that's going to continue to happen because their salary cap is twice what ours is, if not more than that, when you take it.
And so is the level of the competition.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
In certain aspects, and we'll talk about it. And this is, again, Tulilor here in the same way Matt Frawley. These are players brought in from the NRL, expected to be superstars in our league, and for me, they're bang average. But any player, you take Mark Sneed as an example, and you sign him, and you look at, if you need a running halfback and you sign him, he's not going to do it. He's going to be awful. Mm-hmm. But say a Catalan signed him, and they wanted him to guide them about the pitch and play like that, it'd be absolutely outstanding. So it's horses for courses. Just Leeds haven't looked at the balance of their team. They needed an organising halfback with a long kicking game, and the signed Tuilola here. That's never going to do it. Stevie Ward getting injured hinders them. Yeah, it's a big loss for them. He's one of the few.
He's more time injured than he does play, though, doesn't he?
And then you've got to start asking the question: is his body cut out for Super League, or certainly playing the style that he does in the combative way?
And he's a nutcase, isn't he, on the field? He puts everything into everything. Maybe he's going to have to reevaluate the way he plays.
Do we think Ferner will stick around?
No, I think he'll be gone. I genuinely do.
It smacks of Dean Lance, doesn't it?
They're not. Look at Darryl Powell when he got kicked there. It's the worst I've seen Leeds probably since I was about 3 foot tall. There's not a good team. They're in crisis out there.
Here's a punt for you.
They're massively in crisis.
I expect Darryl Powell will go back there at some point to try and right some wrongs.
Yeah, maybe in the future, because obviously the resources, the stadium facilities, obviously financial capability is way beyond Castleford. Maybe that will happen in the future. Who knows? I won't say no. I won't rule against that.
I don't think it'd happen this year. It'd be very foolish. I think he's got a real opportunity.
You're talking the long distant future.
Well, I could see Leeds having a punt for him and trying to get him, and the only way Fairness sees it out is if there's no viable alternative to him. Or do we think Sinfield comes back in and takes over?
And he's running the show anyway now.
Pretty much. He's just got to.
It was doing it last year, wasn't he? They put Jimmy Laws as coach and Sinfield just so Sinfield didn't get the stick. Oh, let's move on.
London Broncos.
What a welcome addition to the Super League they are. They got promoted, and I remember the reaction after that £1 million game when they won 4-2 at Toronto. Oh, that's going to be the Super League whipping boys. They're going to go straight back down. They may well still get relegated. I don't think they do. I don't think they will. Johnny does. But what they're doing is they're showing a lot about them. They're not getting smashed every week. They're picking up scouts. They beat Wigan. They beat Leeds. They smashed Wakefield on the opening day. So they've definitely got something about them.
They caught Wakefield.
Yeah, they caught Wakefield goal, but still 2 good wins. They're good at home. They've got obviously the plastic pitch that they play on. They're used to it. Teams will come here not necessarily being as fluent on it as they are on their own pitch. They've got Johnny's favourite halfback at 6, Jordan Abdul. Massive fan of Abdul is Johnny. But they've got a hard-working squad. And what I like about London and what I like about what Danny Ward has done, and maybe this is something to do with the financial capability that they've got, but they've kept the large majority of the squad that got them promoted. And there's a lot of local, London or Southern-born lads in that squad. And I like that. I like the fact they've gone, the local ethos about them. And they're just likeable. What they're doing right now is really likeable. And I really do hope they stay up and prove some people wrong.
That being said,
it's good for Super League, just to finish off, to have a club in London. It can only be good for the competition.
I agree with you. But the point I was going to make is, you talk about that pitch, and when they came up against another team that throw the ball about, that played well on it, that were in form in Castleford, they got tonked. And I can see that happening repeatedly through the summer. Well, when teams start to play a different style, when it's warm weather rugby, the competition becomes more open, it becomes more expansive as you hit the summer months.
True.
And I think that's when they'll struggle. I think you could see them going on a long losing run, particularly at their place. And that's a difficult... And they've got a really skinny squad.
If you can say that about anyone though, if injuries, bite you in areas, Outlook can cope with it the most. I mean, to be fair, Cass are coping with it really well now. They've got some, big players out. They've got a lot of back rowers injured, haven't they, at the minute? I know they've been missing
Holmes came back this week.
They've been missing Holmes obviously for a while as well, and Matt Cook as well. Even the French players are getting injured now. It's how you cope with it, innit? I don't see where you're coming from there. If London did get a few, 2 or 3 knocks, especially in similar positions.
More susceptible than a lot of teams, due to the fact that they came up promoted unexpectedly, so their squad wasn't really prepared for it. They even lost Jared Samet
It was arguably the most talented player.
Yeah. So they were probably in certain aspects, they were a weaker team this year than they were last year, but they found a way, and they've got some doggedness. I just think that'll only take them so far. I think ability will take over further on in the year. You lose 1 or 2 there, you lose one of your halfbacks, and they're in trouble.
Also comes down to how many games Rovers and Huddersfield will win, and that's why I say for Huddersfield it's a must-win game when they play Rovers.
You've got to include Leeds and Wigan in this,
do you? Because Wigan will just bend the salary cap like they did in 2006 and stay up, and presuming Leeds will do the same.
Lamb will disappear soon, I think. They'll bring somebody in, they'll spend some money, and they will probably bend. They'll do whatever it takes Wigan to stay up, I think.
St. Sellons then. Well, what can you say? They've been great, haven't they?
Well, you say this.
They've been good. They've done what they needed to do to win their opening 6 games. And for me, we know that they'll get better. You talk about summer rugby, pitches harden up and all that, malarkey. When that happens, they'll get even better. They've done the required amount so far. They're not red hot. They're not unbeatable, untouchable or anything like that. But I still think they've got a few gears to go up yet. I really do.
I think a loss is round the corner for them.
Well, they're going to go unbeaten, are they?
No. I think they've been lucky in a couple of games. I think they've played quite loose, and there's some errors. They've been fortunate in some of the fixtures that they've had and how they've fallen and where they're at. And they're another team that have stayed relatively injury-free. Very reliant on the front rowers, which isn't a bad thing, because when you've got Luke Thompson and Alex Walmsley...
Great to see him back. Can we put that out there? Great to see him.
Going really well. I like Percival. I think Percival is a cracking player. I think they've got areas where you can hurt them and get at them now, and I do think as the intensity increases, and it's you could have another situation similar to last year where they end up head and shoulders the best team during the regular season, but end up winning nothing, because I think as other teams have capabilities, whilst they can't do it or don't seem to be able to do it every single week, I think teams can certainly challenge them, and I think other teams' optimum levels is perhaps even further on than St Helens, if that makes any sense. I think they're regularly playing 3rd or 4th gear, probably 4th gear more often than not, and then for patches they'll hit 5th gear. Other teams fluctuate a bit more. Their consistency is better. They're well coached. Holbrook's good. Coote, I think, has been an astute signing for them.
Solid, dependable.
Yeah, and that's great for during the league. It's not going to win you cup final, solid and dependable. It might do. This might absolutely back me on the backside, saying this.
Qualities elsewhere, though.
Yeah.
That famous halfback that I said was rubbish in Meat Powers 1, and you said he was good.
I still think he's
still
good.
in the Championship, isn't he, Mr. Richardson?
And I would still have him playing over Theo Farge if it was me.
Theo Farge has been quality.
Johnny Lomax has been there better.
Lomax is outstanding. He's one of the best players in the comp. He's ridiculously good. I think I like Theo Farge. He's a good player. He's done really well for him so far.
It's a sign for me that, and you look at a lot of teams, and it's not just St Helens here. If you hook as your dominant player, you go across the NRL and talk Cameron Smith, Josh Hodgson, they're the dominant player in that team. James Roby is the dominant player in that team. If you have a dominant 9, a dominant 7 doesn't usually work. And that's maybe what you found. You've got 2. They're almost playing with 2 6s at St Helens, and it's working. They found a way. Lachlan Cook's left-footed kicking game has meant that Richardson's not been required.
It's a good point, that, and that's exactly why. I know we're moving on a different competition here, but that's exactly why West Tigers, when Jason Taylor's a coach, got rid of Robbie Farley.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how different coaches, different setups, obviously determine who which player plays and which player doesn't. But yeah, it's fair to say they'll be right up there. We know.
I think they'll finish first. I think they'll be the league leaders.
Whether or not they can go beyond the semi-final in a cup or the latter stages of the playoffs.
I'll call it now and say I don't think they win anything this year, apart from the dog dish. Yeah.
Interesting. We'll see how that happens when we review this again.
That's the end of Meat Pies and Shots, part 2.
Coming up. It's there.